On today's episode, I had an awesome opportunity, as you could see, we're on video, with sitting down with a person who I now refer to as a friend. He's incredibly passionate about what he does, and we're talking about something that's been a long-standing staple in our community, the Little Theater. I cannot believe that I didn't know as much as I have learned in this interview. The conversation was loaded with valuable history and all sorts of cool information regarding this place that I've driven past, and I'm sure many of you thousands of times right here in Wilkes Barre. So I want to get this episode started, but I, again, will encourage you to always leave comments. Let us know what you think about this in the comments at the end. Let's go ahead and get this started. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Getting to Know the 570. Today, I'm really excited, and as you look around, right, this is a special episode because we're always just audio, and today we decided, well, we're going to be talking with the folks here at the Little Theater in Wilkes Barre, and particularly with me, I have David Parmelee, who is the general manager, and we had an incredible conversation a few weeks back, and I said, I think this would be awesome if we came, set up a little table, set up our podcast here right on stage, and we'll just do an interview here. So here we are. Dave?
Here we are.
Yeah, man,
and
this is great.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. How cool is this?
How about that?
We're a podcast right here on a stage. I feel maybe a little stage fright.
We're blending worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit of my world, a little bit of your world. Yeah. So that's cool. But what an incredible place. A couple weeks ago when we met up, you gave me the tour. We did the whole walk around. This has been around for a while, huh?
Oh, my gosh, yes. In fact, funny you should mention that. Now, you're a native of the area, right?
Basically.
Yeah, me too.
So, better than 35 years.
That counts.
All right. Yeah.
But I remember it as being here forever and always being Little Theater. You know, I was born in the 50s. My first show here was in high school. I came and helped out on the stage crew in the mid-70s. So it's always a place that's been here. But I did some research. The building was first put up in 1916 as a movie theater. This spot has always been a theater. Silent movies, right? And we're going back to Charlie Chaplin. And we found ads for films from the teens and the 20s. They decided in 1941, the Comerford Corporation, which owned it, and also what is today the Kirby, that they were going to triple the size of it. So when you're on the side on Maple Street there, you'll see the old brick that was the original building.
Okay.
And there were apartments upstairs. I mean, it was not a big theater. So they tore all that out. They made it into a huge theater. And we had the advertisement when it opened, the most modern conveniences, ladies' lounge, luxurious lobby, all that kind of stuff. Only lasted 15 years. Shut down as a movie theater. And then Little Theater bought it in 1955 and had it converted. It took about a year for live performance. And that's when they built the stage, put in the orchestra pit, the lighting system, the pin rail where things went up and down, dressing rooms, restrooms, all the rest. So,
first, because since we do have a visual, we have a video for this one. So tell us, what is in the background? What are we seeing here
what
today?
What you're looking at right now is the set, which is, I would say it's probably 3/4 completed for Jesus Christ Superstar, which runs March 21st through March 30th. That's a show that's often done in the Easter season. And we haven't done it in 10 years. So we're bringing that back.
That's really fun. Now, you said everybody's a volunteer.
Yes.
So does that include cast?
Absolutely.
Everybody.
It is a great compliment to us. And I will often be hosting in the lobby and greeting people as they come in and come out. I have a little name tag.
Which, by the way, that lobby is, that's really cool.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's it's like stepping into the past.
Well, it really is. I mean, they have those big, what are they, 4 by 5 feet mahogany display cases.
Yeah.
Well, they were the display cases for the movie posters. And those cases would have held It's a Wonderful Life and Harvey and Casablanca. I mean, the old films.
Now there was, I think you said, was it the bar that what used to be at Kirby? Was that?
Yes. Yeah, the Kirby donated to us 3 beautiful pieces. One is a round display case that once held ice cream.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
we put memorabilia in that now. And then 2 display cases for the bar.
Yeah, it sets this. It's like one of them things like where when you walk in, you go, like I'm taken back to another time. I could almost envision, the times when you would get dressed up to go out, and the sort of what you would refer to as maybe the gentleman and the lady, right? Mm-hmm. Like the kind of look and feel of that era. It just hits you when you walk in. It's really neat. And I haven't been to an event. I've never been to an event here. I think.
Oh, well, we're not going to let that last.
I know. I got to come, but
you have to feel the magic.
Yeah.
When the house lights are on and we've spruced the place up and people are coming in, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like live music, live theater. It's its own special kind of thing. But you're so right. You do kind of go back to that era. Little Theater started performing in the 20s, and they were a nomadic company. And for a long time, pretty small. Well, after World War II, they got bigger, and they began doing musicals just off Broadway. Brigadoon, Carousel, Oklahoma, those golden age hits.
Yeah.
And they would often perform at the Aram Temple, which, imagine the size of that
South
place.
Franklin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, which hopefully...
That place is incredible, too.
Well, yes.
We were there.
Back to us.
I don't know. Did I tell you that we were there a couple of years ago and we shot a music video?
Oh, right. I heard
It was
about that.
the band Lifer, and they were able to get a hold of renting the place. And there was another, right? You walk in there and you're like, geez. And then it's funny because I never really knew about that place. And I guess I guess that was just before maybe me have like my time. Maybe just before.
Yeah.
I'm 45, so I don't know when that really kind of went off the radar.
Right.
But I don't remember ever being at any events there. But when we walked in, that was another place where it's like, all these places are here in Wilkes Barre.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of, it's cool. That's,
Well, I found ads from local clothing stores talking about the opening night is approaching of whatever play it was.
Yeah.
And what will the smart ladies be wearing? And here are the selections we have. And Dan Flood, which...
Sure.
Dan Flood is an icon in Wyoming Valley history.
Got a school...
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Named
exactly.
after him right behind
back
us.
there, yeah. But he was very big in Little Theater. He was a big part of it, and his wife was as well. She appeared here, the great actress. And Dan Flood would attend the openings in tails, and ladies would wear their furs.
That's what I mean. That feels like what it was.
Glamorous time.
Yeah.
Of course, much less formal now, but still special.
So as of now, though, like the shows you put on, all volunteers, how many shows are available throughout the year?
Yeah.
Like, talk to me a little bit about, like, let's get some of the snapshot of today out of the way.
Right, yeah.
And let's give the listeners and viewers this time, right? Let's give them a little bit more insight to what goes on here. Right. So about how many shows do you put on? If it's volunteer, does that mean it's open to the public? Is there a fee? Like, how does all that work?
Sure. Yeah, we do 9 productions, and we got air conditioning for the first time in 2018. There's a boiler down in the basement, now disconnected. Looks like it came off of a World War II battleship. That it was an ancient steam heat system. So in the summertime, we couldn't do much. But that has allowed us to really expand the season. So we're going to do 2 plays every year, a drama and a comedy. Because some people like plays better than musicals. And some actors like to appear in them. And that's part of our mission. On this side of the curtain, have excellent, affordable theater that everybody can attend. And no matter what their taste is, we'd like to have something in the season for everybody. So what is your brand of theater? There'll be something there for you. And on this side of the curtain, where the actors are, to have a place where people can do what they love. We build a playground where they can play. And some people love the vocal arts and dance, and we have incredibly talented people in our musicals. And others prefer what we call a straight show. It's a play without music or a non-musical. So we'll do 2 plays. We'll do 4 mainstream big musicals, Broadway-style musicals, full staging, and a live orchestra. We do Rocky Horror every Halloween.
Real quick about
Yeah.
the live orchestra. I remember you giving me a tour. You said
Yeah.
this used to be the orchestra pit,
Exactly.
kind of like just a little bit in front of us here.
Right. It ended right here at the proscenium, and the orchestra was down there.
Okay.
And it was all acoustic at the time. No microphones for the actors. Nothing amplified there. Very traditional.
Is
Conductor.
do they have mics today?
They do. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
not everybody.
Okay.
But when you're playing against a modern style Broadway ensemble, it's a little louder than it used to be. You've got amplified instruments. I mean, Superstar started life as a rock concert. When it first came to the United States from England, I think the first place it played was Three Rivers Stadium,
Oh wow.
if you could imagine that.
Yeah.
So a little bit different world sonically.
Sure.
So they expanded that outward to give us more room to stage things, more room to act, bigger shows. And the pit today is not in a pit. It'll either be on the side or actually up on our third level, which is a great place to put it.
That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
that's
kind of
what it'll be for this one.
that'd be neat as from the audience perspective to kind of see that.
You can see them doing what they do. When we do Rocky, our orchestra will dress.
Okay.
They become Rocky characters.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's
How
fun for
many
everybody.
people can fit in here?
229 right now.
229.
And we love to sell the place out. That's my favorite sign. Sold out. Sorry. Come tomorrow.
that'd be great, right?
It doesn't happen every time, of course, but the more people discover it, the more they come back.
Now, is there in this industry, is there a show season? Because it's indoors, so I'm thinking to myself, like, just rationally thinking, like, summertime, slow down, pick up throughout the colder months.
Well, traditionally there was, and that's where the idea of summer stock came from. That you're not going to be in New York City in the summer. People tried to get away. Again, pre-air conditioning. So the Poconos kind of became well known for summer stock.
Okay.
Where the weather was cooler, it was breezier, and you might even be in a tent. You're in a theater out in the country. But we always used the summer for the past 40-some years for our youth workshop. It's a free workshop we do. It's open to kids. Gosh, I think our youngest was 5 years old. But we get 7, 8-year-olds all the time, up to 17. So it's school-age kids. And we'll stage, fully staged as you would expect, a Broadway musical for them. And it fills up in like an hour. And it's just a wonderful thing to see those kids gaining stage experience, being directed and coached by professionals.
Now, the people who are typically the cast, are they coming from, are these, like, maybe there's somebody who's listening, watching it, that is thinking like, oh, that was something that I would always love to do.
Yeah.
Is that just something that people literally just come right in and and whoever's running that show, they just kind of get in cahoots? Is it
come in and audition?
Okay, so that it's they have open casting.
Open casting, positively.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I started to tell you that when I'm in the lobby, people will come out and say, "Great show, wonderful. Where do you get your actors? Where do they come from?" And they think we kind of bust them in. They're New York people or whatever.
Right.
And we say, "Oh, they're local." And people will give me that look. These are all local people, because they don't realize the level of talent in the area. It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I don't know that the area in its entirety does a great job at amplifying the arts.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I know that there are many programs where you see this society or this association. Right? But I would say, just as a person in my seat, I would say that always seems like an isolated community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it often really, until like we have like annual events or something where there's a little bit of exposure. But yeah, I don't know that we're the greatest in this area at being able to exploit the arts.
Yeah, it's a good insight. I think you're right. Santa Laquasto, who is a Tony-winning and Emmy-winning designer, just an accomplished guy, especially on Broadway, is a King's grad, one of the more famous King's grad, and he's in the local Arts Hall of Fame now, which we started just a couple of years ago, one of the first inductees. And he was kind enough to do a greeting on our 100th anniversary on film. And we talked to him a little bit. And he said, the Wyoming Valley is theatrically vibrant, which I love that.
Yeah.
We had a gentleman named Ron Cross, just passed away about 2 years ago, who had been in 1776 in the late 60s on Broadway.
Wow.
Very popular show, and he was in that cast. And Ron would come to shows all the time. He was a great friend. And he would see me after shows, and he would say, David, there is so much talent in this valley. You know, he said it all the time. So I wish I knew what the DNA of that is. You know, I don't know how, you know, coal country, right, became theater country. But it is amazing. There are 12 theaters in Luzerne, Lackawanna counties, and a little bit up into the Poconos. We actually have an association.
Yeah.
And we have a scholarship fund, and, you know, we get together to solve mutual problems. A dozen theaters. You wouldn't expect
Well,
that.
a dozen theaters that, and to I think maybe just kind of support what I was saying is there's a dozen theaters, but they all need help.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah,
like, and I think at the end of the day, like even as we were walking through here, you said, man, there's a lot of stuff we would love to do.
Right.
Right. There's aesthetically, there's things that we could be doing. There's structural stuff that you can be doing, right?
Yeah.
All of that requires money.
Right.
And you know, that's where the community at large really sort of plays its part, right? I mean,
it certainly does.
How right now, if everything is volunteer, like who funds this?
Yeah, exactly. I talked to a concert promoter just a week or two ago. He's got a long history in music and also knows a few things about theater. And he said, whoa, theater is too complicated. So there's a million moving parts, and obviously music is too. But he was very impressed with how much it takes to put on a show like this. And in our case, 2 weeks later, you tear it down.
Yeah.
And you start over. And they say theater is writing on water, right? The actor's work lives in the hearts of the audience. Now, of course, you're a film actor, TV actor, different story. But when you're doing live theater, you know, it starts over again, and we clear the stage, and we start to build stuff. So we're as frugal as we possibly can be. The building, you know, what did Mr. Monk used to say? It's a gift and a curse. Like the building is our greatest asset. I mean, there's no place like this around here to do live theater. The closest one is Bloomsburg Theater Ensemble, which was actually the same footprint. It was the same building. And they remodeled it extensively to do what they did. Very different plan now. But these theaters are all over the country. Yeah. And not many of them still standing.
Now, it was interesting because, I think real quick, just to go back to the question before I move on there, do you operate off of grant money, private donors? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. The shows we do as inexpensively as we can. The rest of it is fixed costs. And we would be delighted if we could keep ticket prices low, as they should be, so that everyone can attend. Yeah. So it's accessible to our friends and neighbors, right? Produce excellent theater and break even. That's all you need. Unfortunately, tough thing to do, even though everybody acting, you know, is acting for love, right? Amateur means for love. So we've been very, very grateful for support from small business, from individuals, and from local foundations.
Okay.
Unfortunately, have you heard the prices of things are going up?
A little bit.
Are you aware of this?
A little bit.
Right, so we have to put some more attention into that, into community outreach. When people get involved, I think, with any community theater, and certainly with this one, they do feel the magic. They feel the current that's happening here, and they want to stay involved. Yeah. And the thing that I need to do better is making people aware of what's happening here, as you did just the other day. You came in and you said, wow, there's something happening here. A lot of folks say, yeah, I know that place is there, and I used to go there as a kid, or I went there in high school, or I've never been there.
I think you're doing it now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what.
That's what we have to do.
Yeah, but I mean, and the thing is, and because that's not a shot at you, right? Like I don't take a shot at the arts community in our area.
Oh no.
I think that if you say, hey, what is this area known for?
Right.
That's probably not at the top of the list.
Positively.
Right. And And so, I mean, even so much, it like we all laugh. We have a bit of a humor aspect of it, but
Yeah.
I go to a lot of the shows down at the Kirby whenever they
sure.
have like these stand-up comedians and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's a theme. There's this repetitive theme that's sad. And that is that almost everybody who visits our area, when they take that stage, they have to make a joke about this area
Isn't that
not
funny?
being great.
Yeah.
Right? And it's this sort of down talk to the fact that we actually have something pretty great here.
Right.
And I get it, right? It's humorous. I understand their approach. But when you think about that in the setting of like over at the Kirby, you're at a show, you're out, everybody's there, you have a full house of people that are attending an event, and then you go, why would you want to be here? And you're like,
Right.
what do you, those moments, those big acts, they come in, people show up.
Right.
There's definitely an interest in the arts.
Sure.
So it's this idea that, and I hope that having a conversation like this, showcasing the inside of this. I've driven past this place thousands of times over the years, right?
Right downtown.
Yeah, I think, a matter of fact, when I used to go to Coughlin, I think my bus would drive right past the front of this, right, and then cut down to Washington, and then there I'd be at school. So, like, I know that this was here. I just never really got to experience it, and it's exciting because as we had our conversation and I started to hear about all the different things that are taking place here, like this seems like a fun thing to go out on a date night with my wife.
It's a great thing for a date night, positively.
Yeah. And look, to like, no pun, but to set the stage, right? It is a dated building,
right?
And I don't think you come here with the expectation of glitz, glam, and the golden arches and the motif of that of what it was when it was originally built.
Right.
It is a building that has patina.
Oh, you
right?
bet. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that if you can have an appreciation and sort of look past and be like, this is, because the setting here, like as I look around, I mean, we're on stage. There's a whole theater here. There's all these seats. It's a neat environment, and this is in our backyard.
Right.
So I find that really interesting, and I'm looking forward to coming to a show here. I think.
Oh yeah.
And I like the idea that it's these people. It's one thing when you have to have the expectation of going to a Broadway show, and you're paying a premium for a ticket there.
Yeah.
Right? And then your expectations are through the roof.
Right.
It's interesting because in talking to you, you say that the performances here are really incredible.
Oh yeah.
And yet we're not on Broadway.
Right.
We're at the Little Theater.
Yeah.
Right? And yet you can have that kind of experience. So I think that's what's fun to know, is that somehow that's happening right in our backyard. And
sure,
it sounds like you get a decent amount of people here, so I don't want to undermine that by any means. But I'm interested in going out for date night. I know my wife would be very interested. And after we had our first conversation, I was like, what do you know about the Little Theater? And she's like, when she asked where it was, I was like, yeah, that's where it is. She's like, I've never been. And I told her about what we were talking about in the shows that you have here. And I'll bet you there's a lot of people that probably feel the same way.
Sure.
So you said mostly stage shows, right?
Right.
Did you say that they are mostly musical or
more musicals than anything else?
More musicals than anything.
We've broadened that out a bit too. In the summer, we now do a one-act festival in August. Again, that was a time that was fallow for us. You're not going to go to theater in the summer. That was the whole idea in New York of the season. Well, our season now can run year-round. So we invite local playwrights, and we say local, in the region, to submit scripts. We have some professional adjudicators with the Pennsylvania Theater Association who doesn't know them. They've never heard of these folks.
Okay.
They evaluate the script on its merits and recommend what we should produce. And we pull this curtain back there. It gives us 18 feet of space. And we produce 4 to 6 shows in one evening over a weekend. We'd actually do it
Oh,
three
wow.
times with minimal sets. The sets come on and off, directed in many cases by the playwright,
Okay.
with people who've come out to say, I want to be in something new, something no one's ever heard of, perhaps the world premiere, as it were, and audiences get to see that.
Now these are these written by local folks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
so that's fun because
Yeah.
one of the things that I found interesting, and I didn't know how it worked, but when you put on a show that has a notable name, right, you have to pay for the rights for that.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's one of the biggest components of the show budget.
Yeah, I don't think people know that.
We'll build a set for, a figure in the hundreds, right? It's not a ton of money.
Sure.
We make things look great, even though
Well, I was
they're
here.
not
Yeah,
expensive.
But
right?
are they volunteers too? Then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So you're paying for material. And,
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The set crew is putting their sweat equity into it, but the author of that play, I mean, superstar, right? He's
Yeah.
a knight,
right.
right, Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. Right, they're of course entitled to the fruits of their intellectual product. So you license them through an agency, and they have very specific requirements about what you can and can't do. So no resentment there.
Yeah.
But that is a big part of any community theater's budget.
Yeah, it's interesting because I wouldn't have thought about it in the business sense.
Right.
You just go, oh, they're putting on a show and charging tickets, charging a ticket price, and then you go and you see it, and then when I heard about the volunteers, I was like, well, that's nice because that helps with not having to pay the actors.
Right.
But then, and I'm like, well, what's the catch? We're like,
Yeah.
and then you go, well, we have to pay for the show. We have to pay for the rights. And I was like, oh, all right, that makes
When
sense.
you put it all together, it's surprisingly
Sure, it's the
complex.
dynamics.
How many things do cost money?
But that led us to that. What I enjoyed was that led us to sort of a rabbit hole in kind of understanding the dynamics between Broadway and then the outskirt areas, like where we are, and how that all sort of played in hand together.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of neat to think that there are certain shows that, of course, you said it's extraordinarily expensive because we're not going to be able to get our hands on those.
Right.
But there are other shows that after years of distribution, we can get them here, and they're reasonably affordable. But it spikes an interest in these outskirt towns, and probably drives more interest back to Broadway.
Oh, no question. Lots of folks will drive or hop on a bus, whatever, and go to New York. It's not that difficult to do, and they know that. They know we're kind of in their circle.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of a time of anticipation when a show has closed on Broadway. When will it become available to us? We just did Jersey Boys this fall, and it was outstanding. I mean, those four guys, incredible. I mean, the music was just superb, and it was a good production too. And it had just become available, within the last year, and that ran for many, many years on Broadway. I mean, a show like Wicked, when will it ever become available?
Right.
Of course, the day it does, we all want to produce it. So,
Well, that movie just perpetuated that, right?
oh, exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny though. My son, the young guy, just got married, and was a very, very good actor as a youth, and he was in a couple of shows that I wrote, and just a talented young man. And he took his fiancée to see Book of Mormon. Everybody loves Book of Mormon. And not to compare him to the people on that stage, but he's had a taste of it.
Okay.
And it was a matinee performance. They do 8 shows a week. And he said they were excellent. They were perfect in every way. But he could feel they were a little tired.
Oh,
You're doing Book of Mormon 8 shows a week. It takes a supreme effort of the soul to bring it all up for every performance. When our folks are on stage, you're not going to have an ensemble that has the uniform depth of talent that you will with professional Broadway actors. I mean, anybody in a Broadway ensemble who's playing a quote-unquote unnamed part right there in the ensemble, given time, could step forward into one of the leads. That doesn't mean they're the same people playing the leads, but they have that level of ability. They're incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, to make it in that world, God bless them.
Yeah.
But we have folks here who are very talented too, and they only get 6 chances to do that material. and they may never get to do it again in their lifetime. You know, when would somebody be producing that show and they happen to get the part? So they're never tired of it. In fact, they're very nervous about it. It's opening night, you know, and they'll be gathering together, you know, the second weekend saying, hey, 2 more to go, 1 more to go. So there's a lot of heart to these performances. And every time I've seen one, and I see them all, there are some moments there where I say, wow, you can't do it any better than that. You bring whoever you want doing that song anywhere, anytime. I'll bring her, and we'll see.
Yeah.
So we have that great good fortune to be able to create that incredibly moving moment, whether it be a musical or a play, with people who are really good at what they do and care about every show. So that's the kind of special quality we have as amateurs.
Yeah,
it means a heck of a lot to us.
Well, and you know what's interesting is like that becomes almost like a recruitment platform for certain talent, like scouts. Do they send people? Like, have you ever heard of?
Again, it's close to the city.
Yeah,
and we have had folks earn their way into that world, and they have professional careers from the Wyoming Valley. So
makes me wonder if anybody ever sort of shows up to a show and sits there just to scout the talent.
I'm not sure if they have to. I think the talent goes to them.
Okay.
We had we're kind of proud of our youth workshop because it's free. We get a lot of kids and they love it.
What exactly is that?
Well, the summer production where we have the kids age 5 through 17, and we've had some graduates come out of that. One of them was a local director who was very productive. One of them is teaching at one of the local schools. He's a theater professor. The head writer for Saturday Night Live for a time was a graduate of that youth workshop. Now, we didn't make him head writer for Saturday Night Live.
Right.
That is a gift from God, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, we've had him. He spoke at our annual season reveal, just a great guy from the area. But you never know when you've got a 15-year-old young actor in a summer production. And, you know, I've said to 1 or 2 of them, you know, when we're waiting outside the stage door, make sure to sign my program first, you know. But yeah, you don't know what's going to happen.
How do you feel, has there been an evolution in youth participation into the arts programs?
I think so. I got to remind you, to tell you this, by the way, in our basement, I have to show you, there's graffiti in the furnace room in chalk from Coughlin High School from 1941.
Oh, wow.
So you're a Coughlin guy. But
wow, that's pretty cool.
Repeat your question, please.
Yeah, I was just I was curious if you think there's been a shift or change or evolution in youth and participation in arts.
I think there has. And I was doing theater when I was 15. You know, my first show, I was a sophomore in high school, and I played a grandfather. And then we did...
at 15?
Yeah. I had a wig and everything. But then we did Music Man, and I played the mayor, you know, Mayor Shin, the old guy. This is when you realize you're not a leading man. You know, you're never going to play Romeo. When the director goes, he could play the funny old guy.
Oh.
When you can play the funny old guy, you do. And when you're that young, and I've played the funny old guy many, many times. I've played Warbucks. I've played Roy Cohn. You know, I get to do those character roles.
Yeah.
That's what God gives you. You know, that's what you've got. So it was at that time kind of a little thing people would do for fun. The school play, the high school musical.
Sure.
Right. It seems to me now as I work with school-age kids, and so many of them are in main stage productions here. I mean, they're big, right? They look like adults. They audition. They can do the work. They get the part. I mean, we have plenty of kids who are still in high school or college in our main stage productions. And I think that culture has kind of happened where you have, in a lot of schools, the theater kids,
you
know, who have discovered this is for me. You know, they kind of walk into that room and they go, this smells good. You know, I mean, this
is a unique.
Yeah, there's something going on. I don't want. I like him and I like her, and I think, you know, wow, these are my people. And not having been to high school in a long time, but it feels and working with those kids, that is happening.
Do you feel like
Isn't
that's
that
when it
great?
clicked for you?
What's that?
Do you feel like that's when it clicked for you?
Oh, absolutely.
High school?
Oh, positively. No question. And I went and got an English and theater degree. Smart, right? I was an English teacher briefly. But my wife and I both took decades off from theater. She also had a theater degree. The best actress I know.
Where did you go to school?
Brown University.
Oh, wow.
Great theater department. I mean, those guys, I felt so lucky to have not just their teaching. I mean, we learned a lot, but their insight into that world. I mean, they were the
What made you
wonderful
choose
people.
Brown?
She did.
Oh, she did?
She's a year older than me.
Okay.
I wasn't going anywhere. She didn't go. I said, I'm going to get in and go there.
Oh, all right.
We were high school sweethearts. So.
That's cool.
Yeah. But, I mean, what a place. I mean, the people you meet when you find out what they've done in their lifetimes.
Yeah.
You know, and the theater department was not so well known, sort of underfunded, but, you know, incredibly fruitful. I mean, we learned a lot. And then took decades, literally decades off, and came back in 2010 because our son got a part in The Sound of Music. She got a part too. She played one of the nuns, and I was sitting there reading Harry Potter books one after the other. And the director went, "Could you take this little role?" And within a few years, I had gotten more active, and I'd volunteered. I built some sets, volunteered for the board, and ended up with the tremendous privilege of being elected chair and general manager of the theater. And I think it's been, 10 years now.
Wow.
I learned more doing this than I did in my business career about people. Because no one is here for the money.
Yeah.
They're here for the joy. And if you take away the joy, they go away. And yet we do deal with some of the same issues you do in the corporate world. I mean, we do have to get along, and there's policy matters and stuff we have to get done, and you have issues. You know,
Sure.
you have conflicts among people, you have conflicts with people and policy or operations, whatever you want to call it. But in the corporate world, they go, nope, sorry, unless you want to find somewhere else to work. And of course, it takes a lot to get you to that point.
Yeah.
But in this world, people have to want to be here to be in their first show. And if they leave that first show, whatever they've done, whether they're a technical person or creative staff or actor, musician, if they leave it with a bad experience and they don't want to come back, you know, you've lost that person maybe for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've been guilty of that in the way I've handled things. And of course, you regret those deeply, and mostly people don't tell you. So it's a different world. We all work for one another for free. I can be in a show as an actor, and my director is a friend of mine that I know, and next month I'm directing a show and he's acting for me. Well, can you imagine in the business world if we changed up the hierarchy every 6 weeks?
Right.
We would be very, very careful
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we said to people
Be a little bit of an
when we were the boss,
inconsistency.
because, I think she's going to be the boss next month.
Although that might be a good exercise.
How about that?
Right?
Yeah, how about that?
Then you start to realize what the pressures are.
Exactly. And we all see things differently. We all see different things. Different things matter to us.
We're going to have to make Brian the boss tomorrow.
Yeah, there's an idea, right?
Brian, you can be the boss tomorrow. All responsibilities will be on you, buddy.
See, that would
Then
be
the
a
next
good
day it'll be
one-act
Dave.
play.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. And then Dave.
So that's the world of community theater.
Does that mean I could come in at 5 o'clock then?
Yeah.
Better
He's
not.
going to handle all the other pressures.
Who's going to give orders? Directives.
Samantha.
Oh. That's his bossing skills.
Right.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's funny because you're right. Playing those different roles would be quite strange in a regular functioning work environment. But here, having one day director, one day actor, right? You said you've also been a writer.
Yes.
Are you still writing?
Oh yeah. That's been just experience of a lifetime. And this isn't about me, but let me tell other writers out there. When you write, you're in a quiet room somewhere at a computer. You're writing words for people to say, and you hope they sound like real people.
Yeah.
And you hope your point gets across. If it's a funny show, you hope it's funny. You have no idea what kind of job you've done until actors begin to create those characters. And then you go, is that what I wrote? And sometimes you say, that's pretty good. I like that. That works in the hands of a capable actor. And sometimes you go, ooh, I think we just wasted 8 minutes of the audience's time there. I'm going to go cut that down.
Yeah.
And, of course, you try not to do too much of that because once an actor starts, I mean, you can't change the material as you go by. It has to be memorized. It's too hard. But it's a tremendous privilege. Any playwrights out there, every May we look for scripts, one-act scripts, which by definition is an hour or less. And some of them are 10, 15 minutes. I mean, they're more to the size of a sketch than they are to a full-length play, which is going to be a couple of hours. But send them to us, and you get to see your work produced and brought to the stage. That is a gift.
What style have you written?
Well, I'm not a musical guy. That's not my talent. That's my wife's talent.
Okay.
But I did 6 one-acts during the pandemic.
When you say one act, it's a one-person show?
Oh, no. Yeah, one-person show is its own kind of school.
Okay.
But the idea traditionally of drama is it was 5 acts in Shakespeare's day. And it went on a rising curve of conflict, and then the conflict comes to a climax, and it gets resolved. And we had the denouement, right? And then plays traditionally were 3 acts. 1800s, 1900s be a 3-act play. The one-act play was kind of a little appetizer where you didn't need a break. Didn't need an intermission.
No,
it was short enough. And all the action happened in one package. So more like a short story as compared to a novel. Not quite the same ratio. But yeah, I wrote 6 of them during the pandemic. This was my wife's idea. Let's write some plays where part of the plot is that the people have to be 6 feet apart and wear a mask.
Interesting.
Because we couldn't invite people to the theater. But we could safely, according to the CDC, have 2 actors wearing masks 6 feet apart and a camera person there to film it and a lighting person back there, right? They're all many feet away. And we'll put that on the internet and people can watch it. And it's on our YouTube channel right now. So my wife and I started riffing and said, okay, first, stagecoach robbers. They're behind 2 different boulders. They got the red bandana, right?
Fun.
Yeah. Crime scene cleanup people.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
And they walk into the crime scene except the body, by mistake, is still there, so they can't move. Disturb the evidence. And, of course, they're wearing not just a mask.
Yeah.
Right? We had body shop technicians. We had snipers in training. We had bird watchers. And we thought, let's do that. And they were like, 20 minutes each.
That's neat.
So that was
sounds like you put all those little ideas on a die and then rolled it. And you're like, all right, let's go with that.
Right. But most of what I've written has been, in that 45 minutes to an hour length. And I like to explore characters, make them as good as I can.
Do you have a favorite that you've done?
Yeah, I can't say the full title of it, but it's called 3 Romances About, and we would call it in theater the Scottish play.
You can't say the whole name?
No, don't you.
I don't know.
No, you can't say it, even if you're not an actor.
I don't know what it is.
Oh, well, that's good. See,
I don't.
We're out of danger there. But
all right.
Actors are probably the most superstitious people next to gamblers.
Okay.
And that's one of the time-honored theater superstitions. And others are ghost light. Every theater, supposedly worth its salt, has a ghost. So you leave a light on for the ghost. It's one bulb, and the last guy out turns the light on. And Walter Mitchell, who's our general manager emeritus, his father in the 50s spearheaded the project to buy this place and turn it into a theater. And it was not easy. I mean, big money, right, to do the conversion of it. And the word has it that Walter's father is the ghost.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And a thought is, has there anybody that claims that this place has any level of activity in that department?
Well, nobody in a serious way.
Okay.
But then again, superstition is serious, right?
I mean, are there stories of anybody seeing or hearing anything?
Well, there were many, many more stories, and I've been in this situation. You've got to get the set finished tonight.
Yeah.
You've got to get a piece of it finished, so you're here till 2 in the morning. And there was a steam heat system. And there are actually tunnels in the basement where the pipes go forward and then the condensate from the steam comes back. And of course, you got water hammer, the sound the radiators make, and there'd be little tick, 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 later, and you're looking around.
Yeah.
It's lucky I've got a saw. And
All right.
Come at me, bro. I've got a saw.
Come at me, bro. He said, "Come at me, bro." That's amazing.
But we've never seen any apparitions or anything like that.
Okay.
But again, actors love to be superstitious.
Yeah, seems like something that like it'd be an interesting. We had some guests a while back. It's been some time now, but the Wyoming Valley Ghost Tours people.
Oh yeah,
it'd be fun for them to have an event here.
It's a cool place. The firefighters of the city like to go into every major building so they know the lay of the land in case there's a fire. And they came in a little less than a year ago, and they came up with like 6 different vehicles. And everyone thought, oh, my gosh, the place is on fire.
Right, yeah.
But no, they went up onto the ceiling. They climbed up. They went down into the ceiling. They took pictures of the rafters.
Oh, neat.
It's a great, great old building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What what other things
though.
don't we know about this place? I mean, this is why I have a rule of not really having much conversation before we do this.
Sure.
We talked about so much that night, and I was engulfed in that conversation. I didn't want to leave it, but you had so much history to share about this place, interesting facts about people that were here. Yeah. What else don't we know?
Well, you know, it's easy with a place like this to get wrapped up in that. And I like old stuff because I'm old, you know, and I have those appreciations. But to me, that's legacy.
Yeah.
And we call our bar the Legacy Bar, right? And it is a gift for a theater to have a legacy. The whole feeling that you are, in fact, standing on the shoulders of giants, that there were people, and we have the black and white photos of them from Ace Hoffman's studio in rehearsal. And usually there's nothing written on the back. You don't know who they are. You have to figure it out some other way. But they were so dedicated to starting it, keeping it going, keeping it thriving. And that's legacy.
Yeah.
But really, when you're involved in it, when you're on the board, we have a 15-member all-volunteer board that we elect every 3 years. What you're looking at is how do we keep it alive and thriving and open? How do we foster in people's minds the idea that this could be a place for me? And that matters to us a great deal. Audiences, of course, but also the people up here. If this is something you like to do, please meet us, come talk to us. We'd love to have you involved.
I think it goes even beyond just because I think a lot of people don't know. Right. But they don't know that they would like to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think if you look at the much bigger picture and you think about, you know, sort of making sure that somehow maybe more of our youth gets introduced to this.
Yeah.
Because like you got bit by the bug, right? When you were a kid. And you think about today, and I like some of the guys back at my office on my team, I should say, would probably scold me for bringing this up because it makes me sound like an old curmudgeon or something. But the idea that so many people are stuck in their phones.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then they're sort of, there's people who are anxious about working in a public environment.
Yeah.
The pandemic changed a lot. It's this idea that we hide behind our computer screens and we don't engage. It's changing. It's changing society. It's this. What is that going to lead to? It's a less person to person, right? This idea that you could give somebody who's potentially sitting on an incredible amount of creative passion. Yeah. This is like an ultimate creative outlet.
Yes.
Right.
And in so many ways, depending on what you do.
I'd be curious like on a grand scale, right? Because like the subject matter of mental health and wellness like really matters to me today, and it'd be interesting to hear like what some statistics are in respect of the mental health status of a lot of people who are engaged in this kind of activity, because I would feel that it would be incredibly fulfilling and therapeutic.
Therapeutic's a good word. They say, who knows if this is made up, that the three biggest fears people have are death, snakes, and public speaking.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's the truth until you face them.
Until you do it, right? And once you've auditioned, a job interview is not so bad.
Sure.
And if you've auditioned as a kid, 15-year-old kid, and then you've performed up here, or even sung or danced in front of your parents and grandma and people you don't even know, and they've said good job, and you've given them joy. What are you going to fear?
Right.
That's the hardest thing in the world to do. As my theater professor used to say, you go up there and do it in front of God and everybody.
Or go the other way with it,
Yeah.
and actually fail.
Yeah.
And realize that's not the end of the world, right? Because you somehow like fabricate this story.
You come back tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I'm going to be crushed.
Right.
I choked or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And
It happened to me at my daughter's wedding. I was walking my daughter up the aisle, and I realized we were going too fast. You process up the aisle,
right, yeah.
right? You don't walk, but we're just walking, right?
Yeah.
And I thought to slow down, thank heavens. And in my head, I said to myself, we'll do it right tomorrow. Because that's what happens in theater. I dropped that line tonight. Tomorrow I won't drop that line again. But of course, there's no tomorrow, right?
Right,
You don't
right.
walk her up the aisle once.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about theater. And one of the therapeutic things about it is when you're here doing a show, nothing else matters.
It's true, completely unplugged.
Your world
at
is
least you
this
hope so,
big,
right?
and what matters is, did I nail that entrance? Did I hit the note?
Yeah.
Did I land the joke? Comedy, stand-up,
Oh,
same
sure.
way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Man, I killed, and they
It's all
use
in your
very
delivery,
aggressive
right?
language about that. I killed,
Yeah.
or I died up there,
Right. Oh, yeah.
But you feel so good about having done it, and then you go home and you go, oh yeah, I forgot to pay the gas bill. I got to walk the dog. I hate this. When you're here, the things that are important are such incredibly tiny things.
Sure.
And it's all make-believe. They don't matter.
Yeah.
But they do. So there is a value to that as a human being.
Well, and I think just in general, you're connecting with other people.
Yes,
You're,
yeah.
that sort of. I mean, listen. Even if you had a moment where you stuttered or you faulted at something, the likeliness of the community that's wrapped around you sort of insulting that or turning you into a ball of mush just because you accidentally made a mistake. Like it's just not real.
Oh no, the audience is on your side.
Yeah, collective. They
feel,
support
"Boy, that's
you,
great.
right?
He's a local guy.
Yeah,
I get
right.
paid for this. I love to teach accents. I really enjoy accents.
Oh, you do some good
I have an
accents?
ear for it.
Here we go.
and some
I got to
people-
put you on the test.
Well, not impressions, but accents.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's fun.
and kids will go, man, I can't get it. I just can't quite get it. I say, don't you worry. We know he's Irish. You're doing an Irish accent. That's okay. But if any actual Irishmen come to the show and they complain, we'll give them a full refund cheerfully. Don't worry. It's okay. No one's going to be offended that you made a mistake. What offends people is when you don't care, and we care. I mean, we're nervous.
Well, I think accents
We go out there
are
concerned about doing a good job.
Yeah, well, I think accents are interesting because it really does put like an accurate dialogue to that character,
It's a
right?
tough thing to do. And again, the native speakers are going to go, that's not, But
Yeah,
that's-
but you know
we're
how
not-
many? I've been blown away by like my wife and I will have watched a show and we'll see it for 16 seasons.
Yeah,
And then you see an interview with the person one of the actors.
right.
You go, that's not their native tongue. Like they are English or
House
it's like,
doesn't sound that way at all.
No, right.
And the British apparently have no problem doing American accents. I mean, there would be Americans on Monty Python, and they were just having a great time.
I think Charlie, I forget what his last name is, from Sons of Anarchy. He
Okay.
was the one that blew my mind. When I very first heard him, he had such a strong accent in his regular life, right? But he did such a good job on the show of really just being that character of a biker gang. It was like,
and
wow.
you've got to this is one of the hard things about doing a character with an accent. You've got to maintain it
Yeah.
the entire time. So here you are going into a space where something very emotionally difficult is happening with the character, and you've got to not only do that, but do that with the accent.
Yeah.
Excuse me. A little bit tricky there. So we try to avoid them unless we absolutely need to.
So you said you teach that now?
Well, I coach it.
Okay.
When I especially when I work with kids, it's one of the most fun things in the world. It's like they went to a show where they had to juggle, and they came out having learned to juggle. And
That's pretty
I
cool.
learned how to do this accent. And certain kids take to it very, very quickly.
How do people align with you to get that if somebody is interested?
Well, if I happen to be directing the show and the character has an accent, I'll do my best.
Okay.
I have about 5 where I have them written out.
Okay, so it's not like you're doing like private lessons.
Oh
right?
gosh, no.
Okay.
I'm nowhere near that caliber, but it's a thing I enjoy doing.
Be humble, Dave. You could, yeah.
Best show for accents is Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd?
Yeah, Sweeney he's a Cockney who's just come back from Australia, where he was in the penal colony for, I forget what he said, 15 years or something. There's Anthony, who always seems to be portrayed as an American, who's the young male lead. There's a fake barber named Pirelli, who's actually Irish but pretending to be Italian. And of course, everybody, it's set in England in the 18 whatever, it's a Victorian drama by Sondheim. So it's just packed. It's just loaded with accents.
That's fun. I guess it's a lot of like what you would just overlook too, because you don't think about like immediately you go, oh, stage show, but then you all of a sudden you're in. I remember when I was a kid, we were going to say accents, but I had to kind of do an imitation. I had to play the role as George Bush, and I had to come out on the stage and it'd be like, wouldn't be prudent.
Yeah.
And then I saw that years later with Dana Carvey, and I was like,
incredible?
There's the line I had to say.
Yeah.
I had one line. That was the one line I had to say.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be prudent.
Right, and there are people who make a living doing that, and then the guy doesn't get reelected, and they go, oh, crap.
yeah, right.
My time is over.
So tell me a little bit more about Dave, because we always love to get a little bit behind the scenes and sort of, we've heard about your interest in the arts kicked off as a kid when you were in school, and then you met your high school sweetheart, and you guys went off to college together, and that's pretty neat. What else is behind the scenes from Dave?
Well,
are you from?
Oh yeah,
Northeastern Pennsylvania?
She is too, and we were some of those people, and I think this is probably a pretty high percentage of people that when they leave, they go, "Oh, I'll never come back." At least from our generation, because what we said was, "There's nothing to do there."
Yeah,
Wilkes Barre, Scranton is a dull place,
sure,
etc. And obviously, a lot has changed in recent decades. But it is a great place to raise kids. We raised 4 of them. They're all doing well. And it's a great place to live in so many ways. And looking back on it, we're glad we returned. We really are.
Yeah.
And we're so grateful to the opportunities we've both been given to do theater here. My wife has acted a lot. My son has acted. I've just enjoyed the heck out of it. And we came up with kind of a slogan. I don't know if it was she or I years ago. I worked on the Wilkes Barre Triathlon for decades. I was a volunteer with the triathlon. And again, a committee of, 100 people. I mean, an awful lot of moving parts with lifeguards, and there's a bike course 25 miles long. You've got a guard, etc. Every police department in the back mountain would contribute their time. And one of us said to the other, you got to make your own fun around here.
Okay.
And I think at one time that was true. I think now it really isn't. There's an awful lot going on. You just have to access it, find a way to.
Sure.
And of course, this is what you're doing right now. So this is
trying
God's
to
work. Yeah,
right? I'm trying to.
But if you look for things to do, good heavens! I mean, there is so much to do, and there are people who are passionately dedicated to each one of them, and that's kind of how we feel about our area. And my wife said this too. In Philadelphia, anything you want to do, 2 million other people want to do. Say, let's take the kids to the fireworks down at Ben Franklin Parkway. I heard they're great. Well, they're going to be world-class fireworks. And there will be 2 million people driving, looking for a place to park, trying to get out at the end. You know, it's a bit of a challenge. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton are very accessible. You know,
Pretty much.
We participated for years in the Scranton Fringe Festival, which is not a theater, but a thing that comes together once a year and then dissembles, like a carnival or a circus, and produce some shows there. And I mean, you're looking at a program of maybe 50 different events over a few days. Music, improv, comedy, plays, all sorts of stuff that people have brought here from all over the world. We met a gentleman there who was a star at Edinburgh. He had done a piece that Edinburgh Fringe was, they say, the first Fringe or the biggest Fringe festival, and he had brought it to Scranton. And there's people walking up and down the streets in Scranton with programs going, what shall I go to next?
Oh, that's cool.
And, you know, and there's 4 things happening at one time.
Yeah.
So what we do with Rocky here every year, we'll do Rocky 3 or 4 performances around Halloween. Well, it's an automatic Halloween party that you can come to. You can dress, you can do the whole thing.
The Rocky Horror Show.
Rocky Horror Show live, not the movie.
Yeah.
You know, Kirby shows the movie.
Okay.
But we actually do the musical, which the movie was based on. When Tim Curry got that role as Frank Enfurter, the writer, O'Brien, who's still with us, had gone to a gym to look for a guy to play Rocky, you know, the man he had created in the lab, right? And he found Tim Curry. Tim said, what are you doing? Oh, I'm casting this show. He said, maybe I'll audition. And that's how we got Tim Curry. And I think the first venue where it played had 52 seats or something. And they kept moving it up to bigger and bigger venues till it was on the West End. But Walter Mitchell 10 years ago said, let's do Rocky every year at Halloween, and we do. So if you want to know what to do for Halloween after trick-or-treating is over, come to Little Theater and see Rocky, or be in Rocky.
What is an evening expectation here, like from an experience standpoint?
Yeah, for any show in general?
Yeah, I mean, like, what is that we can share that if somebody's like, well, is there a dress code? Is there?
Oh gosh, no.
You know, like what, you know, I guess let's actually set the stage for them.
Right.
What is that people at home could need to know, and what is the experience like? What is, because you know, we talked about the front area, and usually that's like the. Not reception. What do you refer to that as?
The lobby, theater lobby.
So like, but there's like a pre-show congregation almost.
Right, because we don't let them in right away. So we have to be sure everything's okay. And the actors, if they have microphones, will do a sound check, make sure all the equipment's working.
Yeah.
You know, about a half hour before curtain, people can come in and sit down. But
what's neat is that you have, like, you serve drinks out there.
Exactly,
and it's that ambiance that I was talking about. That
people love it.
That
they
motif
really do.
of back in the day, but it's really neat. So they come in, they hang out up front for a while, get a couple cocktails,
right?
Probably mingled, network, right? For all that,
friends meet one another.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you know, it's not everybody who goes to theater. So the people who do, I think, generally have something in common,
right?
Where the friends meet, or you make a new friend.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of folks on date night, as you mentioned, and I see groups together, particularly groups of women. You know, women who are friends.
That's fun.
And it's an opportunity to maybe dress a little bit. You know,
ladies'
go out for the
night,
evening.
Yeah,
dinner. And they enjoy being together and experiencing this together. And one of the greatest parts, I think, of any show is afterwards when you talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of that guy? And, you know, and I didn't get that. And, you know, I didn't like the way, or I did like the way they handled this particular thing. Even if you know a show very well, every director has a different take on it. We've got a set designer, a lighting designer, a sound designer, a costumer. It's going to look different from the last time you saw it. And you can, I like to watch Shakespeare on TV. Some of the greats have filmed shows like Hamlet. David Tennant did a Hamlet. Benedict Cumberbatch did a Hamlet. I remember seeing Richard Burton's Hamlet and Laurence Olivier's Hamlet. How are they going to do it? You know, we want to see what that person creates.
Yeah.
It's like seeing your favorite band live. I know the album, but what are they going to do when it's live? Springsteen live, you know, there's no two Springsteen shows the same. You kind of know what you're going to get, but you kind of don't.
Well, so that's the I think that is the beauty of stage, right? Is that like what could happen,
right?
Exactly.
So that shared experience, It's a big part of our family, and I think it's a big part of it for a lot of folks who come here is to anticipate it, to actually experience it with the people that are doing that, creating that art, and then talk about it afterwards and share it.
How long is usually a show?
2 hours plus usually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you tend not to go under that. I mean, we've got an intermission, 15 minutes or so. So it's an evening, no question about it. I have a good friend who was involved in the theater for a long time. The first show I directed here was The Crucible, which is about the Salem witch trials. But, of course, it's about the McCarthy hearings.
Okay.
That's why Arthur Miller wrote it. It's a metaphor. And we staged it, I think, very well. I'm very proud of what that cast did. And the years afterwards, she said to me, you know, I saw your Crucible Little Theater. I was angry for 2 weeks. Well, that's the idea, you know, the injustice of it.
Oh, sure.
You know, watching this happen and just burning, like, how horrible is that?
Yeah.
That those women were hanged as witches. It got to her. And had Arthur Miller been with us, he would have smiled and said,
Sure.
Yeah. See how it is? That's what it's
Nailed
for.
it.
Now, of course, you know, you're going to seek out that experience. It's not the same experience as someone who's coming to see High School Musical.
Sure.
You know, High School Musical is just pure fun. And we had so many people in it who were really young. I mean, not all of them all that long out of high school. And they had a fantastic time. And the audience had a fantastic time with them. So different vibe altogether.
What have been some of the best shows that have taken place here?
Well, I think most people, if you took a poll, would say Chicago.
Okay.
In our anniversary year, our 100th season. We had done it before in 2012, and it was outstanding. But the anniversary show, the 100th season, was quite memorable. And the quality, it was just amazing.
Did you have a performance in that?
Oh, gosh, no. Yeah.
Well, you said, oh, gosh, no.
No, I'm not at that level. But we had a fantastic director, choreographer who's a professional, you know, travels all around the country judging dance competitions. The costumes were great. Everything about it. The set was fantastic. And the place was packed. I had a local entrepreneur that everybody knows who's been prominent in our community for decades call me to see if I could get him tickets.
Oh, yeah? That's cool.
Well, he thought you could just kind of walk in, you know, and it turned out that the show sold out very, very early. But we made him a space.
What, like, how far do you see people traveling to come to shows?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife and I just went to see Dark Star Orchestra at the Kirby. And we sat next to somebody who come from Maryland to Wilkes Barre.
That's neat.
And I found out from Neil, who's marketing there, I think it's 125th in the world as a venue as far as the number of people that it draws. I mean, the Kirby, is a busy,
Kirby.
The Kirby.
The Kirby,
is,
okay.
yeah. So, you know, Wilkes-Barre is not that far from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, we tend to be very local. Our audience is
Well, that's what
Top, Back Mountain, Wilkes-Barre, West Side. But occasionally you see somebody travel a distance because there's a production they can't often see. And it was a wonderful moment one night. We did King Lear, Shakespeare, and we always try to do an interview with Erica Funke at WVIA about the show on Art Scene. She's one of our best friends. I mean, most of the local media are incredibly good friends. They're so kind to us, helping us share that story.
That's great.
And we gave away a pair of tickets on Art Scene. And we had a couple, older couple, retired, drive in from State College to see it with their script, which they held on their lap and followed. And I thought, well, you know, if they were the only people who saw that show, it was worth it.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
With respect of the preparation for a show and what is sort of some of the behind the scenes of that look like? So maybe somebody doesn't want to, maybe they're interested in this.
Right.
But you were saying before, there's the lighting, there's the stage crew, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
you've got people playing different roles and,
Right.
and they're not in the show.
Right.
Right. But somebody is interested in that. Is that, I mean, how does somebody, first, I guess, what does that look like for people who are just interested in being involved at that
Sure.
level?
Yeah.
Right? What do they need to do for that? Is that because maybe it's not about a tryout, right?
Right. Well, the two words we love are open and welcoming. We are delighted to have your involvement. Just a great thing that just happened over the weekend. We have a woman who's now on our board who sort of got the bug about 2 years ago and began appearing in shows. She's a playwright. Her show was produced last summer as part of the One Act Festival. She directed it. We just took it to a performance at the Pennsylvania Theater Association. They do a little competition. They won Best Production, and they're taking it to the regional competition in Maryland in April. And she's been involved literally.
That's
2 years.
fantastic.
You know, a woman who's one of my she's a godsend, and she just comes to help paint sets.
Did she have a past, like a history of doing this?
Not so much actively involved in theater, but in writing. You know, she's always been a writer.
Well, she's seeing it come to life now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
And she's
cool.
good at it, too. But, yeah, we have folks who just come by to paint scenery because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, it's relaxing. It's calming. They're making the show look great.
Well, I mean, for that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what does that person just, like, when do they show up? Like,
Well, they go to the website,
yeah.
and it's a really good website. The gentleman who maintains our website does a great job. I mean, if there's a change, it's there in 10 minutes.
Great.
And I think you had commented that the accessibility we have for folks in wheelchairs or what have you, it is pretty good, and we have that on our website.
Yeah. Very informative.
Yeah, but the volunteering part is there. We have a volunteer coordinator on the board. You just email them. You might just want to usher, you know, and be part of all that. And the usher sees the show for free.
Okay.
A great way to see a show if you want to keep.
I
the
hope
budget.
so.
Yeah, right. And it's not that hard to usher. You're helping people find their seats.
Yeah.
Volunteer at concessions.
That's why I used to work security at events. That was it, Dave. Free
Right.
shows.
Yeah.
Free
Yeah.
shows up front.
Yep. Best seat in the house.
Yeah.
You know, I better stand down here.
That's
Make sure
it.
nothing happens to Mr. Jagger.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah. Everything good back there? All right.
But yeah, we love our volunteers. And again, these are not folks that are donating money. These are folks who are donating sweat equity,
Yeah.
their time and their devotion, because these things have to be done, and they're doing them as volunteers.
Speaking of which, let's talk. I'm curious, like, so there's planning, right? Like the behind the scenes stuff. I think some people might be curious about from the point of an idea to bringing it to life,
Right.
scheduling. Like, what does that look like behind the scenes in respect of how much work goes into bringing a show to life?
Yeah, a lot of people who like doing theater would never serve on a theater board, or would never serve on a theater board again, because there's an awful lot more to it than that. And there's that song from the producers, I want to be a producer. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Not unless you're getting paid a lot of money.
Okay.
But the production side of it obviously is crucial. And there's a lot to it, and not necessarily rewarding. But it is rewarding when you see the people come to the show,
Yeah.
and it's successful, and they're having a great time, and they're hugging the actors at the end. You think, okay. But we'll meet in the springtime to choose the season. Of course, make sure the shows are available for us. How does it fit the season? How does it fit the talent that's out there? How will the audience receive it? I mean, we have shows in our calendar that are very old. They're definitely classics. You know, we do occasionally do Shakespeare, and we have things that just became available, or things that have never been seen in the area. So, you know, everybody likes pizza. When you go for pizza, you tend to go to the pizza place that you know and trust.
Sure.
Do you say to yourself, I want to go to a new place for pizza? Maybe not. So there's a balance there of things that are well-known, beloved, old, and things that are new and different. And there's an audience for each of those. So we'll put that season together as a joint effort of the board and volunteers in the spring. And we always have an event in September, and you're invited. In fact, everybody's invited, where we meet in the lobby. We have cocktail hour, cash bar. We have some nice refreshments. And then we come in here, and one by one, we play a little tune, and we announce the show that's coming up in that slot.
Oh, that's fun.
So by the end of the evening, you'll know what the season is all about.
Cool.
Yeah. And then we put a little flyer for that. Of course, we put it on the website immediately. And one thing we do, it's called a play pass. You know the concept of the season ticket, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the sports teams love that. We don't have a season ticket. We have a play pass where you buy a certain number of tickets. You can use them for any show, any number of people throughout the year. So
what does
have
that look like?
A 6 play pass package, and I think you save maybe 20% over buying them individually. Well, you could bring all 6 family members to one show.
How much does a ticket now go for, ideally?
For musicals, $25. Excuse me, I'm sorry, $27.50. For straight shows, non-musicals, which are way less expensive to produce, $20.
Oh.
So more than a movie, but not that much more.
I was going to say, not much.
And the snacks are $2. So not $7.50.
Okay.
And we do the same thing at the bar.
So there's no need to sneak in the snacks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
my
everyone's
wife's
been
tote.
to that concert and they go to get a beer and it's $15.
Oh, it's
yeah,
outrageous.
that's not what we're all about.
Yeah.
I heard a review on one of the talk shows in Philly once on Philly radio, and the fellow had just been with his wife in New York and saw some musical that most people liked. It was a hit musical. And she said, let's get a glass of wine. So they went to get a glass of wine, and it was, box wine, and it was $30
For a glass.
for a glass. And they said, would you like the commemorative glass with the name of the show on it? He
Like
said,
the
"No,
box,
thank you."
too.
Yeah. And he hated the show. I mean, it was probably fine, but he's just not a fan of that show. And he said, it would be great to go get another wine so I could put up with this show. He didn't want to spend
$30
bucks.
Yeah, no.
No, that's not our game. Everything we do is just there to make the evening more pleasant
Yeah.
and more fun. So custom cocktails for every show.
That's nice.
Our bar manager will do 4, 1 non-alcoholic and 3 alcoholic, based on a theme of something going on in the show. And we have folks who come in and go, we're right to the custom cocktails.
Oh,
It's
that's fun.
Something they haven't had before and reasonably priced too.
Yeah.
So it's community theater. We're trying to make everybody happy and come back.
What are so you have Jesus Christ Superstore.
Yes.
What else do you have coming up?
Well, we have a show coming up that I wasn't sure what kind of reception it would get because it's what they call an old chestnut. It originally was performed in 1938. It's called Arsenic and Old Lace. And it's about an eccentric family. They're all insane. And they live in an old mansion. And the 2 women bring in men to rent rooms and then kill them. They poison them. And one of the brothers buries them in the basement. And this is a comedy, right? But it's a comedy about that.
Oh.
And one of the other insane brothers has had his appearance modified to look like Boris Karloff. And, of course, you know who played it for the first time in 1938.
No.
Boris Karloff.
Oh, there you go.
But it's a murder mystery comedy.
Okay.
And, of course, there's a normal family member who wants to date the normal girl, the minister's daughter from down the street. And he's got this Addams Family setup that he has to deal with. And Arsenic and Old Lace, my gosh, I mean, it's been around forever. But we're hearing a lot of buzz about it. It turns out it doesn't get produced that much. So that's coming up next.
That's fun.
Our spring comedy.
So when you promote something like this,
Yeah.
right? Where is it getting shared? How do you guys promote?
Yeah.
Upcoming stuff.
Well, the marketing budget, as we talked about, is minimal.
Yeah.
Because you want to put everything on the stage.
Sure.
You don't want to buy expensive ads to a cheap show, right?
Yeah.
You want people to say, "Wow, that's more than I expected."
Right.
So most of what we do is free. Certainly on our website, ltwb.org, LTWB Little Theater Wilkes Barre. And the media have been fantastic. You will often see us on PA Live with Chris and Rachel. He's a friend.
Yeah.
Terry Gross, the Terry Gross of the Wyoming Valley, Erica Funky. Actually, we say Terry Gross is the Erica Funky of NPR, but tremendous interviewer. Local newspapers, local radio, they've just been wonderful at getting the word out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are you guys active on social?
Yes, we do a whole lot of Facebook. In fact, I just got on my phone the marketing photos for Superstar.
Oh, fun.
We have a fantastic photographer, Angel Mulcahy. On My Cue Photography is the name of it, so you could tell Angel's heavily involved in theater.
Yeah.
And she will do the marketing photos to give the audience a preview of what's happening. And I just got sent 15 of them, and oh my heavens, they're gorgeous.
Nice.
So you'll see those on Facebook, I think, starting tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a graphic artist, Stephanie Skyro, for the last 2 years, has done the posters for every show. So you'll see the graphics online, and you'll see the posters hanging up in the few places where you can hang posters these days.
Yeah.
And that's what's lining the walls out there in the
all
lobby.
the framed ones out in the lobby.
Some of them go back, oh my gosh, 15, 20 years.
They're fun.
Yeah.
I like the way they look.
Yeah,
I've
think
always
so, too.
enjoyed like the show posters.
Right.
I just think that there's, in its own sense, even if you didn't know what it was,
Right.
it makes for cool wall art.
It does. And it's a whole art form.
Yeah.
And in Europe, oh my gosh, the stuff they do. Wow, that doesn't look like Hamlet.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Very modern stuff.
The upcoming season is always going to be posted on the web, right?
Yes.
And then throughout the year, you'll push stuff out across social media. Is
Right.
there preferred channels that you use, like Facebook, Instagram? Like, where are you posting mostly?
Doing Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Our marketing director has really tried to expand that. And of course, we're all volunteers, so you get home at night and
Sure.
okay, got to do these posts. A little tricky some days to get it all done. But I think we have a good presence there. Whenever there's auditions for a show, it'll be as an event on Facebook. So if you're that person who's thinking, gee, maybe, I might want to try that, right? You'll find that on Little Theater's Facebook page. And we give plenty of notice for the auditions. And what would-be actors or people who are thinking maybe about acting sometimes don't realize is they may be the solution to the director's problem.
That's
So
funny.
Part of the work
Yeah.
is the audition. That's
the
part of
void.
the work. Show the director what you can do.
Yeah.
It's not a challenge. It's an opportunity to meet one another.
What are you, so as general manager here, right, you have challenges in front of you. What are you've been here 10 years.
Yeah.
You probably have a plan in your head about how much longer you're going to be here, right?
We hope, right?
Well, I mean, and I'm sure that there's some personal legacy factor with your role here or your responsibilities. Like,
Yeah.
what are you looking to accomplish here?
Whoa, it's funny. That's a great question, and I haven't thought about it. I guess the nature of theater is it's all in the next one, right? You can go to the Super Bowl, but training camp starts in July.
Yeah.
No guarantees whatsoever. So I have two goals as GM. One is we stay in business.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and the other is that every show we do, as the audience leaves, they say that was excellent.
Nice.
So we want to produce excellent theater in a way that's financially viable, so we continue that legacy. We're in our 103rd year now, and boy, has that gone
Yeah.
fast. But you cannot betray the people who made this work.
Right.
And the environment we're going into, where you have so many entertainment choices, makes that a bit of a difficult enterprise to offer something live that's fairly expensive. I mean, any movie I want is either free or $3.99, right? Click. And
If you want to stay home.
yeah, if you want to stay home. So we have to offer our community the experience they enjoy, and it's worth seeking out. And it's a little bit like vinyl versus Spotify.
Yeah.
Some people love vinyl. They like the idea of setting the stylus down and the run-out groove. And
Sure.
I mean, that they're
nostalgia
connoisseurs
of
it.
it,
I mean,
right?
yeah, I just think it's better, and I like the feel of it.
The Rice Krispies sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Crackle pop
a little bit
of
of
the-
that.
yeah.
I have Superstar, the original album I bought in 1970 in my basement with the
Wow.
original package in the liner. It's in a box. It's 3 discs.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big deal at the time. But so many choices, so many things we could do that we didn't have. When we were doing shows at the RM Temple, there was literally nothing else in the way of live theater in the area. I mean, you had to go to New York. Now we've got excellent touring companies coming into the big venues. You've got a dozen really good community theaters in the area, not that hard to go to New York. Plus, you know, the Couch Festival, you can sit there and watch anything.
Right.
I mean, the Gettin company, we would stream them. You know, and they're coming right to you.
You can't stream here or film here.
No. Well, we can if it is in the public domain. So if you look on our website, you'll see our Shakespeare. We are allowed to film that and to stream it if we wanted to. And you'll also see the original plays in our one-act festivals because the authors have given permission for that to be filmed. But yes, no, you may not film.
Yeah.
The whole idea is you create an experience, you have a license to do it.
That's
and
it.
then it's over.
Yeah.
Right. So once we're done with it, it's gone.
So you were talking about some of the things that you want to make sure you achieve in your role.
Right.
How do you do that?
Yeah. The thing I hate to hear most is, are you guys still in business? Or, you know, I've never heard of it.
It's a fair question.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly small city.
Yeah.
And a fairly tight-knit community.
Sure.
So our job is to get into people's awareness. It's a tough thing to do. I met the gentleman who runs Eckley Miners Village.
Okay.
One of a kind institution. And he said, everybody's been there once because we go on a school trip.
Oh.
Nobody goes twice.
Okay.
If everybody would come here once, they'd come twice.
Oh, wow.
So really the magic here is to involve the community in all ways, to give generous people who want to support this an awareness of how to do that and reach out to them. They shouldn't have to come to us. And we have loyal friends who've done that for years. But there are more people who'd like to and be willing to, and we want to engage them.
Yeah.
And secondly, take audiences who would find this to be a really worthwhile experience and let them know how easy it is to access and how affordable.
Where do you sell your tickets on the website?
Yeah, ltwb.org. You pick your seat. I mean, just
I was
like you
going
do,
to ask,
you know,
like,
at a concert. Yeah.
Is there any, like, you know, you want to go to a show, you go to Ticketmaster or something like that. Like, are you on any external sites?
Not external, but we buy that service, and there are a lot of folks in that business. So you only find it on our website, but it is a professional platform, which our web manager maintains, and it's very, very easy to use.
It's interesting, though, because then that means I have to be on your website, right, to be able to find the tickets.
Well, if you want to reserve a specific seat, you can also call and say, reserve me a seat, and we'll do that. There's no need.
Do you use platforms like Eventbrite and those other platforms?
Like that, and I forget the name. They tend to buy one another. And then
yeah, something like that.
You have to change over.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just call us and leave a message for Joe, our box office manager, and you tell him where you want to sit. You just, you won't know the name of the exact seat, but you can sit up close, far back, on the side.
Can people walk up that day?
They absolutely can.
Okay.
Assuming we're not sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always subject to availability, but generally we're not.
You see Dave
But
dancing outside with the sold out sign?
Give me two, right? And that's absolutely
That's so crazy you just said that. Do you remember the movie Point Break?
No.
With Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze?
Oh, my gosh. We're going back a little ways.
Yeah. But you just did this.
Oh, was that their thing?
There was a moment in that movie. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a moment in that movie where Keanu Reeves goes to get out of the car and Gary Busey is in the car.
Okay.
And he looks out and he says, Utah, give me two. And he says it about the meatball hoagies.
Oh, gosh.
And a buddy of mine and I, forever, every time we would see each other, that's what we would say. And I was scrolling through my phone the other day, and there was a T-shirt, and it had a hand up, and it says, Utah, give me two.
See, it's somebody's favorite line.
And I bought the T-shirts, and they just arrived today, and then you sat here and said, give me two.
Kismet.
And I was like, whoa, this is so weird.
Theater magic.
Yeah. Full circle. Center of the world, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Are you still acting? Are you still coming up and doing stage stuff?
Oh, yeah. It's been a great gift. The community, some of whom have been doing this for decades and decades, have welcomed our family.
Well, what do you have lined up?
And this year nothing actually. I did a lot of designing, building, and directing last year.
Okay.
And I've been fortunate enough to get some really, really nice roles the last couple of years. One thing about being an old guy, after a while, people go away. They stop acting, which leaves you and a couple other people, and people write for old guys. But an old guy doesn't necessarily come out, you know.
Slim pickings in the old head department.
You know, Herbert Hoover, the Depression, Hoovervilles, right, 1929. Everyone hated Herbert Hoover. He died in 1963, and he was in government continually almost the whole time. And they asked Hoover, "What's the secret to surviving like that as a politician?" And he said, "Outlive your enemies."
Brilliant.
You know, and not that other actors are enemies, but outlive your competition, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so many people can play Polonius, and I'm one of them. So that the opportunities are there as you get a little older. One thing I do resent among playwrights, playwrights write for men. They usually are men. A lot of great Broadway songs are for men. Well, in community theater, we have way more incredibly talented women than we do men, especially when they have to dance, which is very, very common. But we don't have as many roles for them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's just the way the theatrical canon is. That's the stuff you have to choose from.
Is that just a lot of the older shows?
Well,
the older
I
playwrights?
think has persisted to a certain extent, but yeah, the older ones definitely.
But today, are we seeing more writing women into those roles?
Yes, definitely, but not as much as I would like. And
that's interesting.
It's one thing we try to keep in mind when we do a season: are there roles in it for both men and women? Because we're going to get a lot of women auditioning, going, "Geez, why'd you pick a show that has 8 guys and 4 women? That isn't fair," and it isn't. So you look for those opportunities.
Do you find
for your constituency?
Do you find that there are sometimes people who have to play a multi-gender role just because of a lack of?
That's actually fairly common.
Oh yeah,
to cross-gender a role. I was invited to be in a production of Hamlet at King's. It was a great experience, playing Polonius, the old guy, and Hamlet was a woman. And they didn't rewrite the script.
Okay.
They just had her played by a woman. And
Interesting.
had that famous character. So
well, people have to enjoy that. Right?
Oh, absolutely. What a challenge.
I was going to say.
What a challenge.
Right? Like, that's the beauty of live.
We just had a production in the area, 12 Angry Jurors. Used to be 12 Angry Men.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've had Frankenfurter and Rocky played by a woman in the area. We've had Jesus played by a woman in Superstar, Godspell, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a challenge a director can choose to take on when you switch it up that way.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So Dave, what does the future look like for you? How much more time do you think you got in you in respect to this before you? I mean, are you going to stay in the area?
Oh, for sure.
As you talk about retirement, and
yeah.
you keep referring yourself as the old guy, right? Like, is this somebody who goes off to, Boca Raton and goes golfing all the time?
Yeah, you haven't thought about it much. I mean, we got a couple kids married, and they seem to prefer Virginia. Which is a marvelous place. Virginia is a good, well-run place.
My parents just got a lake house there.
Oh, how nice.
Smith Mountain Lake.
Beautiful country.
I don't know it, but
yeah.
I heard it's out in the middle of nowhere.
But so far, so good. No one knows the time or the hour, but I would love to keep doing this for a while.
Yeah.
I really would. I enjoy the heck out of it.
Well,
my first role here, by the way, was as part of a set. They were doing Hello, Dolly. And our theater teacher at Valley West said, "We need volunteers for the stage crew." And we thought that was a big honor. Wow, we're just kids, and they're letting us come to little theater and be on the stage crew. We're important. Little did they realize they were glad we were here. Well, it was made of flats. Flats are, a sheet that stands in for a wall.
Okay.
Connect them together. They're made of plywood or fabric. And they were held up back at that time with what were called stage braces. They're basically a prop that would prop it up. And it hooked into a little hole, a little metal bracket you had on the flat, and then it hooked into the floor. And we have them upstairs. And they're from the 1950s.
Wow.
And one of them collapsed. And the director said, "Stand here and hold this flat." because we don't want the set to wobble while Dolly is singing, right? And I said, good.
No pressure, by the way.
Yeah, right. I said, how long? He said, till intermission. So I was not only, on the scene, I was part of the scene, and that was my first role.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of accolades for it, but, you get what you can. It was my breakout. It was my chance to get in.
And that's how you got bit by the bug. Wow. That's funny.
But stuff like that happens constantly, and you'll never hear about it. The unsung hero who sews on the button, backstage. Go, get out there,
Yeah.
It is total chaos back there.
I find
you have no idea.
Yeah,
it looks good out here, but back there.
Yeah, I love that. The idea that there's this sort of entire production that's happening, and we're like, everybody out here has maybe you have a slight idea, but
yeah,
to have a real understanding of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Oh, in fact, there's a show about it. Scott Collin, our artistic director, directed it here in 17 or 18. It's called Noise is Off, and it's a British play. And Noise is Off means silence, the British version of it. And, of course, backstage, Noise is Off applies. Can't be talking. You'll be heard through those thin walls. And the first act is a play. And the second act, they turn the set around. And the set has to revolve, and you're seeing all the structures back there. And it's the people behind the set who are not allowed to speak because the play is still going on in front of the set, except that's now hidden from the audience. And it's all the things that are happening among the actors backstage. They're fighting, and
Yeah.
and that's Noise is Off, and it's hilarious. And that was the whole idea. If only the audience could see what's happening back there.
I would say that the first time I should be ashamed of admitting this, but I think the first time that I would have ever really understood that was the movie Showgirls.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, and
they show the Vegas whole bit, but behind the scenes, what's going on?
Yeah,
right.
And it has to look so.
It's like
perfect.
You go back there, you're
Yeah.
having an argument, you're having a wardrobe malfunction, and then 2 seconds later, big smile coming out, right? Or the Fashion Week kind of concept, same thing,
Yes,
right?
where they're holding
Absolute
it together
chaos,
with
and they
tape.
walk out,
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to do that.
And we all have those stories. Remember the time?
Yeah.
And I covered for your line with.
That's it.
A friend of mine said that people don't mind having a bad experience when they're camping because that's what bonds the group together, whether it be friends or family. They said that's why they don't invest more in really good camping equipment. It's not that important. You come back and it's Christmas and you tell, remember when the tent blew down?
Yeah.
Everybody had to huddle together by the fire.
funny.
Oh, those were good times.
Yeah.
But we all have those stories from the show that went wrong. And there's a play about it. I think it's just getting released called The Play That Goes Wrong or The Play That Went Wrong, one of the two, where part of the action is like pieces of the set
Intentionally
fall on an actor and he happens to be standing in the hole where the window is. So
what do they call that? Because there's something that's called where it's like the unintentional intentional.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not sure
there's a name to
for it, but yeah,
because it's like a what is that called? I forget what it's some kind of like theater practice or acting practice or something that they do when they're telling a story. And that occurrence takes place,
right?
And then you go, and then the audience has to say, "Did that actually happen?
Yeah.
Or was that a part of the?" I love that.
The beloved of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, they would constantly have things collapsing around them, and they did it. They did it themselves. I mean, there's no CGI. I don't think there were even stuntmen back then, but he was known for did that happen? Wow,
Yeah.
He survived. So perhaps in the future, The Play That Goes Wrong.
Amazing. Dave, this is I've loved this interview. Right, it was like a continuation of our first conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That one lasted a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and I like I said, I was you have so much passion about this,
Oh.
and I'm drawn to people who have that kind of passion.
I definitely love it. No question about that.
There's no question
I've
about
spent
that.
a lot of hours here, and I have never said that was wasted.
Right.
And when it works and it looks good, and you go, yes, we did it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well,
It's
you
just-
could tell, and I'm happy for you in that respect, because sometimes we go about our lives and we don't find the thing that really, works
True.
for us.
True.
And so I'm really happy for you in that respect,
Yeah.
because you could tell, and I love the idea that it's not just with you, it's with your family too.
Oh yeah.
Which is fun, because
Yeah.
I think that would suck. I'll say that. I think that would suck if you were really into it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Everyone's like, no.
No, thanks.
First theater story. I was playing Grandpa and You Can't Take It With You. And there's a whole school of writing where you have the wacky family and the one normal guy, the Addams family, right?
Okay.
It's that same paradigm. And it's arsenic, and it's You Can't Take It With You. They're visited by rich people, and they're all eccentric, and they're sort of left-wing and bizarre. They make fireworks in the basement. Well, Grandpa is a stamp collector. So he opens his stamp album, and he's looking through it, and he goes, look at this one. It's a Nicaraguan blue. It's worth 2 pesetas. And that was my line. And it just, what that does for the plot, I have no idea. But I was looking through my stamp album. So I had never been in a show. I was in 10th grade. I was wearing a big fake mustache and a wig and a 3-piece suit. Back then, you could get 3-piece suits at the Salvation Army. I mean, this was Grandpa's old suit in 1974. Because we just had the flood and everyone threw everything out. So they put a Playboy centerfold at that page of the stamp album, like full size, and they glued it in. And of course, I always opened it to the same place. And the 2 guys who did this were standing behind me, looking over my shoulder. And they thought, oh, we're going to break Dave, right? He's going to break. So I open it, and I see the centerfold. And I said, oh, look at this. It's a Nicaraguan blue. It's worth 2 pesetas. And they broke. These are the things that matter to actors, right? I mean, nothing but, good memory.
But I was going to say, there you are. How many years ago, right? And here you are today.
When you love it, you love it.
Yeah, and I love that. I think, that it's interesting because we all have, I think individually we're all attracted to some level of arts.
Yes.
Right? Some might not refer to it as arts, but I think there's still an art to whatever you are doing. Yeah. If it's unique, if it has your flair, if it is you, that is an art, right? And I know that for what I do for a living, like I love my creative outlet. I love the idea that I can help people, that I love this part of it. This is not a part of my career, but this is something that we took on, as a passion project. Right. But this is art, right? This is ideas that, like, together we just sort of told this story and we painted a picture that nobody else will exactly do again. I think that's really fun. And that's why I think I was drawn to the conversation about this as a whole, because this is a community of people who are just passionate about doing something. There's not this sort of cutthroat factor to it, where people are trying to stomp on each other to get a role or do whatever. Yeah. It's this sort of purity in people, and I think that is attractive, and I think that it's neat that it's right in our backyard, right, and that there are these entertaining shows that are taking place, and there's a bunch of people like you that are behind it. So,
well, that's our slogan, Broadway in your backyard, and we don't mean to be too ambitious.
Sure.
With that slogan, quite often I'll greet somebody leaving who says, "I saw this show on Broadway. This was better than Broadway," and I think, well, wouldn't that be great? I doubt it. I mean, from a critical point of view, they're professionals. The local high school baseball team is not the Yankees. I mean, there's levels of everything.
Yeah.
But I thought about it. I thought, what that person is saying to me is, I had a better experience here than I did on Broadway. That spoke to me in a way that the Broadway show didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I could relate to the actor. I found some moments. I enjoyed what they were doing. That unique kind of sharing that we do across this space, you know,
Yeah.
this fourth wall that's imaginary, meant more to her than the sharing that was done on Broadway. And I get that. So that was better for me than Broadway. And I mean, what better compliment, you know, could someone give us?
Yeah.
So yeah, come down, come see a show. You will probably be surprised at what Wilkes Barre has to offer. As Ron Cross said, there is so much talent in this valley.
Do you have like corporate sponsors?
We do. In fact, one of my goals this year, and I think we can maybe do it, is that every show would be presented by a different business or individual in the area that feels that generosity and that mission. We had 5 shows out of the 9 sponsored last year.
Okay.
So hopefully 9 out of 9 this year.
Are there any sponsors you have lined up to sort of shout out now?
Oh, yeah, well, Superstar is being sponsored by the Renaissance Center for Plastic Surgery.
Okay.
That's Dr. Francis Collini and his wife Susan Collini, great friends, and she will be here opening night.
Beautiful.
So we're delighted for that.
That's awesome.
And we have recurring sponsors. We have friends. Eric at the Haberdashery.
Yeah.
You saw the purple hangers out in the lobby,
Yep.
right? He donated the coat rack for people.
Okay.
There was nowhere to put people's coats. He said, I'll take care of that. But he has sponsored Rocky Horror, I think, 3 times now.
Oh,
That's a
fun.
show he always enjoys, and he's always here for the midnight show
Nice.
of Rocky. That's his thing.
That's awesome.
And then we have a number of people who, you know, perhaps not going to sponsor a show, but they definitely want to help.
Yeah.
And so they will donate to us, and we have signs in the lobby with their corporate logos, et cetera.
Okay.
And we have a big screen over the bar so the people who see it, it's a captive audience, and their names rotate on that big screen. And we are grateful for every one of them. It means so much.
So a lot of our audience are businesses.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no
especially
question.
a lot from the area, right?
Yeah.
So is there, if somebody is listening and they're like, hey, I would love to be a sponsor there,
Yeah.
right? How can they go about doing that?
It's on the website, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. Just contact us and leave a message. If you leave a message saying you want to support Little Theater, we're going to call you back. we will not
Hope
drop.
so.
We will not drop that.
Yeah.
call. Really, it's at this level, as opposed to Broadway, which you mentioned, where tickets are, I don't know what the average is, $150, $200,
Gotta
something
be,
like that.
yeah.
And of course, look at the magic they do.
Sure,
there.
sure.
Hydraulics and projections. I mean, it's
It's
incredible.
literally Broadway.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that's
if,
what they're known
if you went to a show blindly,
Yeah.
you could be like, I went to a Broadway show.
Exactly.
That's
so
why.
we're not doing that. We're not spending money that way. But without the generosity of donors and supporters, it couldn't happen. We could not break even. I mean, plywood is $68 a sheet.
Yeah, it's
Plywood. right
outrageous. Yep.
there. So I mean, hey, it is what it is, right? We do our best.
Sure.
We're very, very frugal with everybody's money, and what we do not want is for somebody to say, "That's too pricey.
Yeah.
Let's not go." We never want that to happen.
But I thought what was really important about the storytelling of this is that we're not just, because this is not just as a nonprofit,
Yeah.
right? You're set up that you have to serve your community in some way. If this was just about a bunch of people coming together to play make believe, and
Yeah.
we're all somehow going to gain support of everybody on the outside,
Right.
like that you're just not going to get the buy-in, right? And that doesn't jive with it. But it's the idea that what does that do for the people in our community, right? How does that that's why I brought up mental health and there's so much more. It's this idea that what does one action, especially for our kids, right? What does one action, like coming and doing something like this, potentially lead to for them?
Yeah.
For career, for self-confidence.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that like the arts really do contribute. And
They do.
that's where,
Teamwork, right?
yeah,
Getting along
yeah.
with people.
I mean, I think a lot of people, look, we're doing this on video today, right?
Right.
mostly because I knew that you would not have a fear of it. But the reality is that, and I think some of the other local podcast hosts would back me up on saying that there are people who will never come on.
Oh, sure.
As soon as they know that you do anything with cameras,
Right.
Which is why we've sort of stood true to doing all audio only, because we get a lot more people that are comfortable coming in and just be like, I don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
Right. It's the stage. And I get it. And we want them to have the opportunity to tell their story. So, which is why I don't think we'll ever move to a video only platform. Mm-hmm. But let's look at it like this. Those people who have had the experience with the arts, who did something when they were young, maybe they were on stage, maybe they did stuff, right? Those are the ones today that do carry that confidence.
Sure.
And that makes a huge difference in their careers, their lives. And so, that's where I think if a community as a whole wraps their head around what is the good that comes out of a place like this.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than just something for people to have make-believe.
A good point. And, I see we've got actors want to come in and rehearse, and we don't want to get in the way of that. But a good note to close on. Obviously, there are shows written just for entertainment.
Yeah.
And, vaudeville back in the day, it's pure entertainment. There's all sorts of live theater. But most people who are writing theater that's getting produced, whether it's musical or non-musical, they want to accomplish something. They want there to be a message. They want there to be meaning in the work. And it's not to be underestimated. When you're an audience at live theater, there's a very good chance you're going to encounter a character up there who will mean something to you or help you resolve an issue or help you examine a situation in your life to make you feel a little bit better. And I think that's hard to find.
Yeah.
But you will probably come away saying, I learned something tonight, whether I wanted to or not.
Yeah, that's fun.
Come see a show.
I know for sure that I will be here. My wife is very much interested, so I'll be eager to do that. That's a great segue. So for some of our viewers, listeners, we're going to do a giveaway.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Free tickets.
Who doesn't love free tickets?
Thing. Yes. Help us out, spread the word, and let's invite you as our guest. And, of course, pairs of tickets.
Yeah, so we're going to do
the
3 pair,
together.
right?
3 pair.
3 pair. So, all right, here's how it works. If you are tuning in for the first time to get to know the 570, then here's the rules. You have to, on the Getting to Know the 570 Facebook page, you have to like, you have to comment, and you have to share the post. Now, what are you going to comment? It's going to be it's always some relative word to today's episode. So Brian always has the word queued up for us. Do we have a word queued up, Brian?
I got it.
What is it?
Yeah, when we were talking about the ghost light, and he said, "Come at me, bro."
That's going to be the phrase.
Do they have to spell it correctly?
That's it.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, we don't really
bro.
necessarily.
No punctuation.
We're not a bunch of English teachers or
There you
grammar
go.
spelling teachers, so it's fine. Get it close, but it's
Do we do come at me, bro, or do we do ghost light?
or ghost light.
Or what was this? Two?
Utah, give me 2.
Utah, give me 2. I think we got a lot of good
Now
choices
there's so
there.
many.
I really...
Let's go with.
I always dug the ghost light thing.
Huh?
I always thought the ghost light thing was really cool.
Yeah,
That's the one thing I knew coming in here with
Oh,
that
really?
light being
Yeah.
on. I was
I've
like,
never heard
that's
of
cool.
that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
And
really
honestly,
cool.
I think the real story behind it is in New York, theater unions. I mean, it is sacrosanct.
Mm-hmm.
You don't mess with the unions, and the tech guys are all unionized. So are the actors, but I think that's the one thing you're allowed to do, so everyone can get out without breaking their necks.
Yeah.
Is the director is allowed to leave one light on, turn it off and on when he leaves.
Okay.
He's not allowed to touch any other lights. So I think that's the practical reason.
Yeah, my wife is really into like the ghost shows, and like you said, every theater is haunted.
Oh, yeah.
So like everything we've ever watched, they always have
Yep.
the one light, the ghost light.
Well, let's
one
go
of our
with ghost light.
The ghost
Let's
light.
go with
Ghost
ghost
light?
light.
Okay,
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
it.
I do like to come at me, bro. But
Ghost
let's go
light.
with ghost light.
That's
Okay,
fine.
ghost
So
light it is.
our keyword is ghost light. So make sure you're on the Getting to Know the 570 page. You like, you share, and you comment the word Ghost Light. If you don't know what Ghost Light means and you just fast forward to this part, shame on you. There was some really good conversation. We had we learned a lot about the theater. We learned a lot about some of these little key words, these trigger words, if you will. And I had a blast. I'll be very curious for our listeners, hopefully now viewers. Tell us what you thought about us doing video. Did you enjoy this? Do you want to see us do more of this? Dave made this easy, so I appreciate you.
You want one more piece of theater trivia to close with?
Let's do it.
When actors wish one another good luck, you can't say good luck. Because, again, actors are the most superstitious people in the world other than gamblers. So what we say is, break a leg.
Break a leg.
And it comes from a German expression, Hals und Bein brechen, which translates to break your neck and legs. And the idea is that being so superstitious, we don't want to curse you by wishing you good luck. So we wish you the worst thing that could possibly happen. And in opera, they say, in bocca al lupo, which means into the mouth of the wolf in Italian. And then you respond saying, crepe al lupo, which means may the wolf die.
Crepe al lupo.
So that's our break a leg. Bad luck means good luck.
Love
there
it.
you go.
Love
Enjoy
it.
the show.
Well, to wrap things up, guys, about the giveaway, just so you know, what will happen is this episode will air, and then we'll give it probably a week and a half, 2 weeks of allowing you guys to share and do the commenting. And then we enter everybody who participated in that into a randomized selector. We don't handle the giveaway, so we're not going to have the tickets at our studio. We prefer that you would come directly. We'll put you in touch with Dave, and then you'll be able to square up and get your tickets there. Look, one of the things that I think that would be really helpful is if you do participate, or you get your tickets, you come to an event, or if you are already somebody who follows this, you come here to the shows. Those comments on social media, that's your opportunity to help spread the word, right? A place like this is always looking for community support, and it's your opportunity to just simply go in, tell people about your experience here, tell people about what you love about it. I want to encourage more people to do that. So for our listeners, our viewers who are lucky enough to win the tickets, when you come, please take pictures, share those photos, let us all know what the experience was like, share that experience. I think that that's amazing. Dave, I want to thank you because not just for being a guest, and I love having this conversation with you, but this is a selfless thing that you're doing as well, right? And I appreciate you playing a part in our community to do something for our community members.
As you said, it's meant a lot to our whole family.
Yeah.
And what we always say in theater, I've said it to so many of our wonderful casts and crews, the end of A Christmas Carol, which we do every other year, Tiny Tim, right? God bless us, everyone. And it has been a blessing. Thank you.
I love that. Well, to our listeners, viewers, thank you for tuning in. We always tell you, like, share, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. But most importantly, just keep tuning in and make some damn comments.